Welcome to ESPM. I'm so proud of that joke.
The red zone.
The red zone. Hi, Em. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Just, the exact same.
Yeah?
Still cockroaches in my house.
Good.
Still no cockroaches in your house?
I mean, I've left a puddle of blood in my wig.
Just blood in your house.
So who knows?
Okay,
they could have been drawn in.
Did you clean the blood off of your walls?
I tried to, but then the next morning I found some more.
Poor Blaze. Also, I showed you a TikTok last night that I feel like the whole world should know about. So I'll try to save that so we can post it on our Instagram later.
Oh, no.
But there's this TikTok of this girl showing off her boyfriend saying like, oh, well, or my boyfriend who's literally getting a PhD, a chemistry PhD at Yale. And then it cuts to the girlfriend with like a big quartz rock and like something else,
like
and
a crystal and something.
It's me again. The rain is healing energy. And I said, I tagged you and Blaze. I've never seen a more perfect TikTok that represented
it's just
a couple.
This guy like cooking or something, which is
like
literally
minding his own fucking business, and then just it's me again.
Which like we literally, since Blaze did go to Yale and he has a Yale apron, and like he literally cooks. He's the one who cooks. So I'm seeing this video of this person and she's like, look, it's my boyfriend who has a degree from Yale. And I'm like, oh. And then it turns and she's like holding a crystal and says the rain has healing power. And I went, oh, fuck. Em really called me out.
I saw that one and I'm telling you, I saw it when Alice and I were staying over in that apartment. And Alice had gone to sleep and I literally it was the only TikTok where I've covered my face laughing so hard because I was like, I've never seen a more perfect.
And when Em sent me that, I was like, I'm pretty sure I told Blaze that rain has healing energy like 2 weeks ago, like on those verbatim words.
What does he do as your husband? He just
kind of stares at me.
Like, when you come to him and you say, I have something to say, what does he expect is going to come out of your mouth?
He usually puts everything down and leans back and waits. Because I'm like, if he's still doing stuff, I'm like, you're not listening to the important information I have.
It really could be anything from the rain has healing energy to like, I bought a dog. Or I lost our baby.
Or I lost our dog. Or I lost all of our 15 dogs. It's really quite a range that I bring to the table.
It is fun and scary to be your friend because when you're like, I have something to say, it's like, whatever it is, it's going to be a memory.
We're all going to have to sit back, put down our phone.
Whatever you're about to say, we're going to talk about later at some point. Did you hear the news about Annabelle?
I was wondering if this was going to come up.
Apparently it's a hoax. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, I feel like I'm not totally surprised by that. But what happened?
I don't know. So, again, all I know is from TikTok. But from what I'm understanding is that she literally at 3 a.m. one night just literally went vamoose, just vanished from.
It seems like so on the nose.
Yeah.
For a haunted doll. Like
I feel like fucking Zach Bagans did it. I feel like he went to Connecticut. He went to the Warren Museum.
Bagans.
I mean, Bagel Bites.
Who doesn't have a lawyer that can sue us?
I mean, this is all alleged, and if I were to throw a theory in the ringer, it would be this one.
Also, a lot of our theories are very alleged because they're all wrong, probably.
Well, I've also said this many times. A lot of Instagram lives, people say like, where's the number one haunted place you would love to go? And I always say I would want to go to the Warren Museum. Yeah. It just looks like it's just like condensed, like concentrated haunting stories and stuff. And that's where Annabelle is, in the Warren Museum.
Or was.
And apparently she's on TikTok now because a lot of people have a lot to say about it.
They're pretty funny.
But so I personally think, and I've said it openly before, I will be shocked if anything other than Zach Bagans buying that museum
is involved.
Happens.
Right.
Like, he's bound to.
A lot of people tweeted at us last time when you said that, and we're like, oh, that would never happen because remember, like you said something about, oh, maybe she'll end up with, or maybe it wasn't Annabelle. I forget which doll. You said, like, we'll end up with Zach Bagans, and then all these people tweeted, like, no, that won't happen because XYZ, and they're really against.
I know PTD. Zach already has PTD.
Right. And
Zach,
HTD.
He's friends with the guy who is the caretaker.
Does he have STD?
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry.
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. HTD.
You were talking about Harold, you silly goose.
You were talking about Robert. Susan the doll. no, I popped out my contact. Oh no.
Where is it? Does
my
Susan have it?
Oh no, I've been haunted.
What did I do? Didn't I tell you? There it is. Catch it.
Okay, well now I can see out of one eye, so that's good.
Didn't I tell you at one point I had a dream about personified STDs?
Yes, you did. You said,
Leah gonorrhea.
Leah gonorrhea. Wait, Leah gonorrhea. There was like a chlamydia or
Lydia chlamydia.
Lydia chlamydia.
And I think it was just syphilis.
Syphilis. That's right. And they were like sisters.
What
or something.
was wrong with me?
I don't know.
Anyway, nobody draw a picture of that. Okay.
So what's going on? There's a doll, and she escaped the museum. I don't know what happened, but she like cursed my contact out of my eye, and so now I can't see. So things are going really well.
That's
for me.
the first side effect of STD possession.
Yeah,
Susan.
Susan, leave me alone. I'm sorry.
I'm sweating. That was funny.
I apologize to Susan.
Over the years, frequent and unexplained sightings at the winery of a mysterious apparition have grown. Though unclear, its unfathomable presence has come to be known as the Phantom.
Dun dun dun. I'm so excited about this sponsor, y'all. Okay, so this is about Phantom wine.
Mm-hmm. I mean, listen, it's really a perfect combo of something I get out of it, something Christine gets out of it. It's like ghost-themed wine. And
it's like, why did we not come up with this? But also, I'm so excited that I got to drink it.
I'm so mad, even though even though it's the coolest thing in the world, I just want to be a part of it in every way possible. So anyway, by the way, there are 2 quotes from people who have seen this ghost.
Oh,
one of them was the director of wine growing, aka probably Christine's next job. This is Chris Smith, the director of wine growing, who said, "I saw a glimpse of moody boots and blue jeans, and I knew I wasn't alone." That also sounds like Christine.
I think that was me trying to steal the wine out of the wine.
I think you were talking about your reflection, wine grower.
Well, there's also a quote from cellar master Julio Lobato, who said, "You know that feeling of someone watching from the shadows."
Me, I do. Really, it's Christine.
Yeah, it does. It's probably me like creeping around the Phantom winery. So there's this Phantom wine, you guys, and Eva brought the Chardonnay over to our last sleepover, and it was excellent. Like, I'm not usually a white wine person, but the Chardonnay was so good. It's grown in Clarksburg, California. It's 100% French oak. It got 91 points from Wine Enthusiast, which sounds like a whole lot to me. So
I haven't gotten a 91 on most things. So
no, never.
This wine is smarter than me, I think. Also, there is a red blend, which I know Christine loves red wine the most. I know Allison loves red wine the most. Everyone I know seems to like red wine the most. So get ready for this. The grapes are selected from the finest growing regions around California. It's aged in American oak for 28 months. It's got over 90 points also from Wine Enthusiast, and 6 years in a row it's gotten grades like that. So it really is the teacher's pet.
It's winning. And also it's vegan friendly and gluten free, which is really important to me. And it's kind of hard to find those sometimes. So vegan friendly red wine called Phantom. I'm in 100%.
Bingo.
I'm creeping in my blue jeans in the background.
Go to buyphantomwine.com and enter drink for 20% off online purchases of Phantom wine.
That's buyphantomwine.com and enter drink for 20% off online purchases of Phantom wine.
Welcome to your weekly reminder that Christine has boobs, and they're always comfy.
They're always comfy. Thanks to Third Love Bras. Third Love uses the measurements of millions of women to design bras with all-day comfort and support, and they stand behind their products. So if you don't love it, exchanges and returns are free for 60 days.
So the way that you start out is you do the Fit Finder quiz. And if you're not sure about your size, you can take Third Love's quiz to find the size and the styles that are right for you. It's only a couple of questions to find your perfect fit, and over 15 million women have taken the quiz to date, or Christine alone has taken it 15 million times. We're still not sure. Jury's out.
It's my favorite because you can figure out your breast shape, which not every company takes into consideration. And that makes a big difference in what is comfortable on you. So like I said, they're super comfortable. They're the real deal. There's no substitute, especially when it comes to your bra. You wear it. I mean, maybe not during quarantine, but like most days of your life, you probably have to wear one. They have signature details like memory foam cups, no slip straps, and a scratch-free band, which is huge. Third Love creates better bras that focus on what matters, keeping you comfortable. No shortcuts, no substitutions. You really should check them out.
And Third Love donates all their gently used return bras to people in need, supporting charities in their local San Francisco Bay Area and across the United States. And so far, Third Love has donated over $15 million in bras.
That's amazing. Third Love knows there's a perfect bra for everyone. So right now they're offering our listeners 15% off your first order. Go to thirdlove.com/drink now to find your perfect fitting bra and get 15% off your first purchase.
That's thirdlove.com/drink for 15% off today. I don't know anymore,
Anyway,
man.
there's a doll.
So HTD Harold has
who we love and will never say anything negative about.
Not one.
Not one.
So I don't think his owner / caretaker, apparently the person who
Gets along.
is with Harold, they prefer the term caretaker. So I don't think Harold's caretaker is interested in offering him to anybody.
I think that's what people were tweeting, maybe.
Robert the doll, I'm shocked by. I guess there's a whole museum or something, right?
Oh yeah, he's like
him?
has his own place and a tour. Like I literally went on a
Zach
tour in Key West, and it was like the Robert the Doll tour. So I don't.
Yeah,
think...
maybe they make too much money where like Zach doesn't like stand a chance. But I feel like anything Zach could grab, he probably would try.
Like, his
right?
empire. It's like Alexander the Great. He just wants to like take over the whole empire.
He's like, maybe I can't own Harold, but he is going to be a guest star on our show.
Yeah. I'm sure he's done one with RTD, right? That's what happened. That's how I tweeted at Zach. Okay, hold on. Never mind. That was the day when I went on the Robert the Doll tour. That was the day that Zach blocked me on Twitter.
Right.
Anyway, long story. But sorry. Okay.
So I've always thought at some point, especially since the Warrens have passed, I always assumed Zach would eventually at least try to buy their museum, and if not their museum, at the very least Annabelle.
Right.
And so in my brain, I like to imagine that he like played, burglar and like kind of snuck in and took Annabelle.
Or he didn't do it. He sent
Aaron obviously. But that's what I like to think happened. Obviously, it probably most likely 99.99% did not happen. But people say that she just vanished.
Okay, that's pretty freaky though. Either way.
Yeah.
It's not good news.
It's not good.
It's certainly not good news.
And also everyone, apparently there's a thing called Annabelle Twitter and an Annabelle TikTok now. It's all hysterical. Like people are making up some real funny stuff about why she decided to leave now. And they're like, even Annabelle's scared of 2020.
I know. I like that. I like that whole vibe, that whole meme world we've created.
Yeah.
Can I give you a haunted update?
Yeah.
Okay. So you know how my house,
I know.
okay, it's covered in blood. A, that was my fault though. But B, I have those haunted stairs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I did. You're not gonna love it. Okay,
what?
It wasn't a thing I realized I was doing until after I did it. So I needed furniture for my house, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I need furniture, and I need a sofa, but sofas are expensive. So then I went on this app that I love called Everything But the House, which is where you buy stuff from estate sales after people die. And so I found this couch that was like nearly brand new. But it was, from a dead person's house. So then I bought it and I put it in my house. And then that same night we got the couch, because it was like a third of the price. I was really affordable. So I bought this couch, right? And then my stepdad and Blaze went and picked it up and put it in the house. And then we put up a TV that night in our little like living room area. We put up a TV finally, and we were like, oh, perfect. And then this freaking TV keeps turning itself on and off and keeps like going crazy. And we're like, I don't know what it is. The outlets are working. Everything's fine. The cords are put, like nothing's off.
Was it working until the couch shut up?
Well, so we got them the same day. So like, I don't know. But then I was like, oh shoot, I just realized I literally leaned this couch against that haunted staircase. So now I have just like this weird vortex of like the haunted staircase is here. Then there's a sofa from this person who just died in the house. And then
how did the person die? Peacefully?
Oh, I don't know. They don't like give you that would be great.
It could be like a Lizzie Borden couch where like
it's not covered in blood as far as I can tell.
Your window unit is.
Yeah, I know. I'm adding to the whole mystique.
I feel like a lot of people are you're doing something real sneaky, Christine.
What?
I'm on to you. Because
what am I
everyone is
doing?
paying attention to what Bagel Bites is up to and how he's trying to like build this conglomerate museum of haunted items. But over in Cincinnati, something's happening too. You're just the East Coast Zach Bagans Haunted Museum.
That's all. The Midwest. That's all I've ever wanted.
Well,
the ZB of the Midwest. Well, okay.
Just slowly buying things from estate sales and being shocked that things happen in your house.
I was like, that's so weird that like this TV. I mean, and of course, I'm not of the camp that, oh, something electrical happens, it must be a ghost. I get that. So it probably, I know M is, but the TV also was not used, to be clear. That was a very new TV, so it shouldn't be going on the fritz like it is. But in any case, I was like, that's weird. And then I was like, oh my God, I just bought this sofa. Oh my God, it's like leaned up against these stairs where I see stuff happening. So anyway, now my little living room area is just extra haunted.
Great.
Anyway,
Well,
what's next?
I don't know. You're going to buy a haunted truck or something.
It was like a third of the price. And it's like a very, very new couch.
I mean, I'm happy for you that you're furnishing your home, but like the way you're choosing to do it, I'm mad at myself for being shocked.
And so then we bought it and we picked it up, and it has like a tag that's like, it's been like fully sanitized. Like they go through like a really professional, obviously for obvious reasons, very professional sanitizing process. So it's been fully sanitized before anyone gets nervous. It was used because couches are expensive, folks. I don't know if you know this, but wow.
Couches are expensive.
They are. And like,
holy shit, I didn't know that. And then that's one of like the price of everything is definitely one of like the top tier things you really learn to respect your parents on once you become an adult yourself.
It's very true.
You're like, now I get why you didn't want shoes on the couch.
Yes,
I
like,
was a piece of shit.
The number
growing
of shit
up.
I spilled, or the number of things I spilled all over my parents' couch, and I'm like, why would they sound mad at me? And I'm like, oh my God, if my cat even like puts one claw out, I'm like, no.
Well, my mom did tell me when I was getting this apartment, she was like, well, this is probably one of the last places you have before like you have your own family. So what I would suggest is like get all the nice shit now because like don't even think about in your 30s getting nice furniture. Like just appreciate what's going on. And then in your 30s, just kind of like
play it low, play it safe.
Just allow them to trash the things that looked nice at one point because at least you embrace that they once looked nice.
They once were nice. Yeah.
So
that's the thing with this couch I was like, well, it's used. I feel less bad if like the dog lays on, or not that he was going to lay on no matter what I bought, but like not that I feel less bad if I bought like a $2,000 couch and Juniper was like scratching, I'd probably freak out just because it's so expensive. But yeah, so it made sense at the time. And then it didn't occur to me until later when I was sitting on it like, oh, weird. This was just in a dead person's house. Anyway. But then again, I'm like, a lot of people die all the time. And it's not like, I'm sure there are a lot of things.
Didn't someone die in your last house? Or did I make that up?
I don't think so. So people definitely died in this house. Did I tell you I found out it was built before I thought it was?
No.
So we thought it was built in the 1890s. Apparently it was built in the 1870s. So it's like ultra old. It's like 150 years old.
I mean, you did tell me it was like you have board
tenement housing and stuff. Yeah. A lot of different like multifamily unit, whatever. So yeah, and a lot. Yeah, I did actually do some digging, and I found out that the first owner's wife died at age 30 in the house.
Bye. Great.
Her name was Mary. Oh no, it was Laura.
Her name was Laura.
Yeah,
and she was 30, so she was like right around your age and probably wants to hang out with you. Great.
Yep. She's figuring out what a TV is. It's okay.
She's probably having the time of her life.
It is the age of the spinster.
Bingo.
The year.
Speaking of death, if there is anyone out there who happens to work for this kind of service, I'm looking to get some graves cleaned. I know I'm taking like a real sharp left turn.
Cool.
Not really.
Cool.
A pretty slow left turn, I think.
Yep.
So my Ancestry stuff, we all know I love doing my Ancestry stuff. And I found a few graves of like very distant relatives. And they are worse for the wear, probably because
Where are they?
You know what's interesting is that, well, I already knew, and I've told you this before, I'm actually the first from either family line, my mom's or my dad's, to like not grow up in New York. Everyone,
right?
When my dad's side and my mom's side both came over many generations ago, everyone stayed in New York,
right?
So I guess it's really not that shocking, but every one of my ancestors that has died and been buried in this country are all within like 2 or 3 cemeteries in New York.
That's weird.
So next time we go to New York, I plan on doing like a cemetery tour and seeing all my ancestors.
Aww.
But I was looking at a couple of them and they looked like trash. And I was like, I feel like
I will not abide by this.
I was like, I'm too bougie for this. Not my ancestors.
You're like, look at my article.
I was like, look how far we've come, family line. I'm going to clean your. Well, also my thing too, this is a little more sentimental and it sounds very sad, but we're allowed to have a happy, positive attitude of it. Just before you're like, aw, like,
okay,
I'm at peace with this. So we're allowed to talk about it and be fine. But my grandmother has Alzheimer's and it's pretty gnarly. And the last time I got to hang out with her when she was able to live on her own, I was 15. And I remember even then I was super about Ancestry and learning all about, our family line. And so she drove me up she was still in New York, so it wasn't too far, but we took a train to her old neighborhood where she like met my grandpa and where like both of their families had storefronts and all that. And interestingly, right across the street from one of their storefronts is the cemetery where they ended up getting buried. And so she took me to the cemetery and I got to see like her parents' graves. And what's weird is my grandma, she was one of 4, but all 3 of her siblings had died before she was born.
Oh, weird.
I guess her parents were super overprotective of her because none of her brothers, she had 3 brothers, and none of them made it past the age of 7. So then when she was born, they were like, oh, fuck.
You are...
And it wasn't negligence. It was just like truly like...
Well, sure, but I mean...
I don't want anyone thinking like all 3 of... Like, it is weird that all 3 of them died, but it was in just like freak accidents. And so they were really protective.
My grandpa was the
her.
only one of his 5... I think he had 4 brothers, and he was the only one the youngest, and he was the only one who lived past like...
Isn't that crazy? I don't know what was going on at that, time.
In my history, it was Germany during World War II. But... Yes.
Ours was just like weird Americana things.
Right, but I mean, even back then, it was like... Spanish flu. I'm trying to think of the timeline.
Well, one of them, the one that lasted the longest, he died at 7 because he truly was just like riding a bicycle outside, and then a car wasn't paying attention and hit
accident.
him. Yeah,
oh, that's
and it wasn't like he was in the road and a car hit him. It was like the car wasn't, the driver wasn't driving properly and like came up on the sidewalk where he should have been safe. So like, just weird things. But so. Anyway, she took me to the cemetery where her parents were, her brother was, her grandparents were. And I remember her crying when we were there. And I thought it was because she missed her family, but she was crying because she was like, when I'm not here anymore, no one's going to come clean their graves like I do. Because she took me to clean their graves. And so she got really sad about that. And now she's in an assisted home and like she is pretty far gone. She doesn't remember any of us. But I feel like I should like carry that on. So anyway, this is a very long-winded way of saying I know exactly where those graves are, and I know how important it was for them to stay looking sharp, and they probably haven't been touched in like 10 years now. Yeah. So if anyone knows what the pricing of that looks like, because I'm sure that's like kind of an expensive thing, so I don't know what the maintenance
seems like
looks
a very niche.
I'm sure it's like I wonder if it's a year-round cleaning that they do, or like you can just pay like a one-time flat
restoration fee or something.
Yeah. Anyway, I would like to do that in honor of my gammy. So if anyone knows the pricing on that, let me know.
Let us know. Hit us up.
And also, it's like probably fun information that we could somehow find a way to use at some point.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Anyway, so you've got a ghost in your house. I'm trying to clean graves. This is all very on brand.
Nothing has changed in the last 3 years of our lives.
Absolutely
We're pretty much still exactly the same.
Not even a little bit, Christine.
We're still buying like discount haunted furniture because
you
don't want to pay full price for a couch. Yeah, that's all me. Your furniture's lovely. I'm just like,
I buy my stuff at stores.
You buy your stuff at stores? Oh, weird.
Yeah, instead of your estate sales.
That's cool.
Which like I don't mean to knock estate sales, but like
I love estate sales.
But of course, you would only pick the things that dead people have
Correct.
touched.
And also, I bought this other cool thing. I bought multiple things, but I bought this other cool thing. This is actually really neat. Last thing, I promise. Speaking of like history. Yeah. So I bought this prescription from 1926, and it was the 4th prescription. It's from Cincinnati, and it's the 4th prescription written under Prohibition for whiskey. And
that's dope.
I know. And it's a local doctor. It's like a 4x6 or 5x7, I think, and it's a prescription, and it has like I forget the name of it, but it's the like traditional name for whiskey, so it looks more professional. But it's basically a prescription for whiskey, and it was the 4th one written in the United States under Prohibition, and it was written by a Cincinnati doctor who then like later became pretty famous for like working with like the Bengals and stuff. But
wow,
it's really cool, and it like says the address of like the guy who lived in Cincinnati and like needed whiskey, I guess. And on
you should go to that house and then bring your flask of whiskey,
be like here,
and take a picture and
pour it out on the porch.
Full circle,
full circle. And then on the top, there's like it's like really ornate, and on the top it has like these flowers. And then I read the history of this paperwork, and they're poppy flowers because like opium, and and so back then you could literally get prescriptions for opium, cocaine, booze. And so anyway, I just thought that was really cool. So I bought that as well.
Super fun.
From an estate sale. So
Okay, you're changing my opinion. Maybe we should go to an estate sale together.
I would love that.
But I decide what we purchase because
Fine.
you're going to show me a bunch of things and be like, I don't want to tell you the story to
You
this.
take the EMF and just like wave it over stuff and tell me if it's safe.
We'll just bring all of our ghosts from all of our many homes over the years and have them give us the nod of approval.
We'll just drop them off on the sofa and say, stay here.
Okay, so my story is interesting because I have known about it for a while, but I felt like I needed to give everyone a break because my main squeeze is in this story, Mr. Harry Price.
Yay, I had a feeling.
And so I wanted to give everyone a little time because Harry Price, I think, was the only story I've covered where I did 3 full episodes.
It was like a multi-parter.
And they were long as shit, too. Like, every one of those episodes were very lengthy. So I wanted to let everyone take a breather, but he's back.
We always knew he wasn't gone for good.
It's not just a trilogy. We've got a 4th here. He doesn't make too much of an appearance. I wouldn't necessarily call this I wouldn't say this is like Harry Price Part 4. Like I would consider the other.
He's just like tangentially part of it.
This is
He
just
seems
like
to insert himself in a lot of these topics.
I respect him for that.
Yeah. It's pretty familiar. I don't know why.
But I will say this is a case that he is, I don't know if I would say he's super well known. He's super well known for it, but in this case, it's well known that he kind of wrote about it in his books of like, he was aware of the case, but he just wasn't as invested as like Jeff the Talking Mongoose or Rosalie. Like he wasn't the only person involved, I guess.
Okay.
So this is the story of the Ghost Girl of Romania, or what she's probably best known for, her name, is Eleonora Zugun.
Oh.
I wanted to say it was Eleanor Zugun, but apparently it's Zugun.
It's not Zugun.
Zugun, so I thought it was Zugun or whatever. But whatever. That's just me being ignorant and American. So it's Eleonora in some of the sources, and in other sources it was Eleanor, and I had read most of my notes as Eleanor, so that's how I'm going to pronounce it. Sure. A lot of people, though, say that apparently in Romanian text,
I see,
which are the sources I cannot read.
Really?
She was known as Eleonora. So Eleanor, I'm just gonna make her a little American girl. Apparently, Ellie was born May 24th, 1913, in Talpa, Romania. May 24th, is that
Gemini?
That's on the cusp, right?
I think isn't 21st.
Yes, Gemini. Sorry, it always mixes me up with I know it's somewhere in the 20s. Yes, okay, so she's a Gemini.
Woohoo!
So she is described as, quote, let me know if this sounds familiar.
I can already say yes. I don't even know what you're gonna say.
No. This one's mean. I was just being silly.
Oh.
All right, described as, quote, just a normal, simple peasant girl, and there was nothing particularly special or remarkable about her.
Yeah, that sounds like what my parents would say when they put me to bed at night.
Sure, yeah. If our parents had to write a biography about it.
Don't forget, you're not special.
They would delete that they would delete that sentence before they officially posted it, but it'd be there.
It would be in there for sure.
So this story takes place where Eleanor's 11.
Okay.
And she was sent to stay with her grandparents in northern Romania. I think the town was called Buhai.
Mm-hmm.
And this was in 1925. She was 11. So early 1925, Eleonora is taking a walk. She finds some money on the street. And she's like, oh, great. I can't imagine it was that much money, because she says, I'm going to spend it. And she spent it at the candy store.
Oh, cute.
Then again, it could have been a lot of money.
I was going to say, how much money could we spend at a candy store?
Yeah, okay. I've spent a lot of money at candy stores. So she goes back and she tells her grandma about her day. She's like, oh, I found some money on the street, so I went to the candy store.
Precious.
That's what Eleanor was thinking. She was like, grandma's going to say this is precious.
Uh-oh.
Grandma was pissed.
What?
And said, like, you took money that wasn't yours and you selfishly used it.
Oh my God.
And apparently said the quote, that money was probably left by Dracu, aka the devil. And,
why would you say that to your granddaughter?
And by taking the money and using it for yourself, you have invited demonic forces into your life.
Well, you have now that grandma's decided it. Jeez.
Now that she's manifested the demon for you.
Exactly.
But so anyway, everyone thought that it was going to be just like a fine comment, like, oh, I found like I'm imagining it was like no more than
cents or something.
Yeah, like maximum like $5.
Oh my god!
If I had a $5 bill, absolutely I'd take it
To the candy store
for the candy store.
or Starbucks in our case, but like same thing.
It would be absolutely one for each hand. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people. You can explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity.
Yes, I've been using Skillshare a lot during quarantine because, like, why not, do something productive for my brain?
Learn a skill. Yeah.
Learn a skill while I'm stuck inside. One of the classes I've been taking is called the Productivity Masterclass, Principles and Tools to Boost Your Productivity, which I need when I'm inside my house every day and only want to watch TV. But it's been really helpful. It's taught by Ali Abdal, and it's just like so comforting. And I feel like I'm actually being productive and learning how to be productive at the same time.
I was going to say, you wanted to be productive, and so you took a productivity class. Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that's I don't even know. I was going to say from your roots, but that literally makes no sense. But let's make that a catchphrase. So
Maybe you should take a Skillshare class about how to like speak
how to
English.
speak English, about slogans that don't exist. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, congratulations on your productivity.
Thank you.
So Skillshare offers membership with meaning. So with so much to explore, real products to create, and the support of fellow creatives, Skillshare empowers you to accomplish real growth, such as productivity. And Skillshare has classes to fit your schedule and your skill level, and members get unlimited access to thousands of inspiring classes with hands-on projects from a community of millions.
Explore your creativity and get 2 free months of premium membership at Skillshare.com/drink2.
That's 2 whole months of unlimited access to thousands of classes for free. Get started and join today by heading to Skillshare.com/drink2.
That's 2 free months of unlimited access to thousands of classes at Skillshare.com/drink2. So you know us pretty well by now, and you therefore know that we are always looking for ways to make our lives easier. We are all juggling too much, not just Em and me, but I'm sure everyone listening. So the ability to offload even the smallest tasks can make a huge difference. And one convenience that I can't even remember living without at this point are my smart bulbs that are connected to my Alexa.
Yes. And right now, Amazon Alexa is offering a special smart lighting bundle for our listeners. But I really don't remember the last time I flicked a switch,
Used a light
did a
switch?
light switch. And I remember with all the cockroaches going on right now, there were times where I had to use the light switch, and I was like, ugh, because I'm so used to being able to just say Alexa, turn my lights on. It's very, very wonderful.
It's really nice. Like if you're in bed, and this happens to me all the time, and I forget to turn the lights off before I head to bed, I can ask my Alexa to do it for me, and I do, believe me.
Well, you can literally say, Alexa, good night, and all the lights will turn off.
See, it's really actually kind of incredible. You make it so easy in your own home that when you leave home, you're like, wait a second, the whole world isn't this easy.
It just makes you want to stay home more often.
Exactly. Setup is easy and you don't need any extra equipment. Just connect your new smart bulb to the Echo Dot and you are all set. You can set every possible mood with over 16 million light colors to choose from, or control the lights in your home with the sound of your voice. Just say, Alexa, turn on the lights.
And you can also set lighting routines to gently wake you up in the morning, to help you wind down at night, or completely turn everything off at a certain time. I know during my Marvel Mondays, I'm always doing them at 5:00, and at 5:30 we have a routine, or we have a schedule where the lights will all of a sudden turn on at night. And so there are a lot of times right in the middle of Marvel Monday, people will comment and be like, I guess we're halfway through. So it's not even in my house. Everyone is aware of my my Alexa lighting routine.
Your routines. Right now, you can get 20% off your Amazon Smart Lighting Bundle only at Amazon.com/drink. Every bundle includes an Echo Dot smart speaker and a Sengled color changing light bulb. That's
That's Amazon.com/drink to get 20% off and take advantage of this amazing smart home deal.
Amazon.com/drink.
So apparently Grandma was right, or at least she manifested something or invited something in, because after that experience, we kind of say that the going to the candy store and then telling her grandma about it, that was opening a portal in a way.
Oh no.
And if it wasn't, then Grandma invoking this.
Or Grandma had already done it and she's like, let's throw the blame somewhere else.
I like that twist.
Oh, you went to the candy store? Forget this.
Forget that Ouija board I was playing with upstairs. Your candy store caused
Kick
the
that
problem.
one behind the couch.
Behind Christine's haunted couch from the estate sale.
Oh no.
So anyway, all of a sudden, some really weird shit started happening in the house. So that night, the family was sitting together eating at the dinner table, and out of nowhere, a shower of rocks fell onto the house.
Oh dear. Okay.
It's just like essentially like a waterfall of rocks.
Okay.
The rocks keep falling. They get more and more intense. The rocks are growing in size. It's basically like hailing stones. 2 pieces that came flying at them was, quote, a piece of porcelain and half a brick.
Oh,
They were smashing through the windows.
brick. Jesus.
I'm unsure if it was like coming out of the sky and landing on the house, or if it was coming out of the ceiling and landing on their table.
Oh, I see.
But it materialized out of nowhere and was falling on top of them.
And it's not just hail; it's like literal bricks and stuff.
Literal rocks. Yeah.
Okay.
And so the family goes outside and they don't see anyone or anything that could have thrown that many rocks that were that heavy and so quickly
Right.
at them without being seen.
Sure.
So they're like, what the hell is going on? So they go back and they see that most of the debris settled around. Okay, so it must have materialized from inside the house and fell onto the table, because they go back in and they see that most of the debris settled around where Eleanor was sitting.
Oh,
So
no.
it all seemed to be aiming at her.
Oh, no.
After that, it just kept happening. Wherever Eleonora went, things were flying off the shelves. They were either hitting her or landing really awkwardly close to her. And many witnesses confirmed this, saying
Sad.
that it wasn't just rocks. It was like if you were at a store, just items just fly off the cases at her.
Oh, my God.
And so Eleanor's grandma calls a priest. And the priest comes to the house and notices that most of the rocks were wet that were being thrown at her.
Okay.
I guess from the first incident at the dining room table. So he marks one of the rocks and puts it in a stream nearby, because he noticed that the house was next to a stream, puts the rock in the stream. And then seconds later, the rock shows up again out of nowhere, wet, and it's marked. But it's going into the water and then just like dissipating out of the water and just showing up over here.
What?
So I don't know what his plan was or what he thought he was going to learn from that. I'm just more confused now.
Maybe just to like determine that that's where they were coming from, the river.
Or that that's what I thought too. But like, even if it's coming from the river, how's
Like,
it
what is
showing up
that?
from your ceiling?
Right. Like,
I
that
guess
doesn't
it's-
answer any questions.
Yeah, and like now that he marked it, I feel like that was supposed to make me feel better. But it's like, okay, so now we know that the same rocks are appearing, but like, how is that possible? Like, even if it was a rock that wasn't marked, I'd still wonder where it came from. So I don't know how that was helpful.
It seems clearer than when you start pulling it apart and you're like, actually, I guess this doesn't tell me much
It's
at
like,
all.
hang on a second. So all I am is more confused.
Yeah.
So anyway, they see rocks. Nothing ever really comes from that except for the priest being like, I can't explain that. This house is clearly evil.
Bye.
There's nothing more to it. He also apparently saw objects moving and dishes breaking on their own.
Oh, God.
And so he says that the house is evil and it's because of a demonic force that's been let in. And so the grandparents are like, oh, well, that's obviously our grandchild.
Obviously.
And very quickly in this story, they're already completely over it and they send her back to her parents. They're like, we want nothing to do with this.
Grandma's not very nice.
Grandma's, she's a straight shooter.
Yeah, she's not messing around, I guess.
She's pretty direct with what she wants and she makes it
You
happen.
brought Dracu into Grandma's house and you are in trouble.
Take Dracu with you back home.
It's just like a no, what do you call it?
No business. No tomfoolery.
No tomfoolery. I
All
would just say no
business.
tolerance policy. You bring Dracu here one time and you are done.
I've said it once to Christine. I've said it twice to Christine. But you know what? She keeps buying shit from estate
I'm going to
sales.
keep bringing into our apartment, Dracu, and all of his furniture.
So she moves back to Talpa with her parents and nothing changes.
Oh, no.
Rocks keep flying at Eleonora, or they at least try to get to her. They're flying into the house. They're breaking windows. The parents are probably pissed about their windows.
Yeah.
Objects are flying off the shelves in public at her, including a plate that accidentally hit another person when it was trying to hit her.
Oh, no.
The furniture would shake. And this was all only when Eleonora was around. So a lot of people thought, okay, well, this has to be following her.
Sure.
Because when she's not around, there's nothing. If I were her parents, I'd be like, go have a play date over there.
Yeah.
Let me sweep up all the crap you caused.
You stay in there.
Then come home. And let me just take the windows out of the house, actually.
No windows. Doesn't make sense.
And also like knives and things are just flying around
Very
the house.
frightening, especially if they're hitting other people too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at one point, this is my favorite sentence of the whole thing. At one point, even potatoes were flying around.
Okay,
the
well,
house.
that's a little more appealing to me.
They fly right into my mouth.
Appealing? Okay.
They,
Sorry.
you nailed it.
Thanks.
No, you nailed
Thanks.
it. They, quote, materialized from under the bed. God, they're like fucking lemon.
Wait a second.
Wait a minute. Why were they
Very
under the bed?
appealing.
Shut up, Christine.
Hey, how are you peeling today?
Wow, really bringing it back.
Sometimes I ask Blaze all the time. Sometimes
I ask him all the time. And all the time, I never ask.
Sometimes I ask Blaze all the time, how are you peeling? And he doesn't find it
And then
amusing.
he shows you the divorce papers.
It's the funniest thing to me. How are you peeling? And nobody thinks it's that funny, but I think it's like, it like makes me cry laugh whenever I say it. So let's change the subject really quickly, please.
Before your tears are all over with your one contact in your eye.
It's true. I can't see.
Did you take your contact out?
No, it fell out. I don't have a contact in my eyeball. I can't see half of my.
I remember those
face.
days. It's really inconvenient.
Yeah,
it really
it's
sucks.
hot. I just should have brought more, but
You knew this would happen.
here we are.
So at one point, the potatoes, quote, materialized from under the bed and flew across the room to hit Eleanor's father in the shoulders, which, like, a hard potato hitting you in the back,
It's gotta hurt.
that's a rock.
Someone chucked that at you.
Yeah. He's not peeling okay.
You know what? You know what they say? Rocks or potatoes are the rocks of the starch family.
That is what they say at Christine's house.
That's what I say.
Always, never.
While Blaze is literally trying to like do work. That's what I say. Yes.
Yeah.
I say, hello, it's me again. The rain has healing energy, and
Hello,
rocks
it's
are
me
the
again. The potatoes are the rocks of the earth.
starch. But isn't it true? Okay, you can keep talking now.
Help. Okay, so Eleanor also started waking up with scratches, bites, puncture.
Oh, we talked
wounds,
about that one. ASMR. No.
abrasions, pretty much all the bad stuff. She was waking up with all of them all over her body, and a lot of them were in places where she could reach, but there were also in places where she couldn't reach herself. So,
Jeez.
a lot of people say maybe she was doing it, but then you have to explain like where else they were on her body.
Yeah.
Let's see. So now her dad and apparently 14 other people in town brought her to a priest. Even the town's like, fix this. So they take her to a priest named Macaroni.
Macaroni. Sorry.
Macaroni does save me. It takes me out of a lot of bad
Macaroni
situations.
is a spiritual experience.
So maybe that's the priest I need to be looking for this whole time.
Father Mac.
Big Mac.
Big Mac. So sorry. I'm going to be quiet now.
So
I mean, I'm
apparently,
not, but, like,
when she went to go see Father Macaroni,
Mm-hmm.
this is in not Harry Potter's book. This is in the Chamber of Secrets.
This is the dumbest show.
Okay.
Why does anybody listen to this?
Okay, so the Goblet of Fire, it says.
Yeah.
Okay, Harry Price's book called Poltergeist Over England. So he wrote this in 1945, and I think this is more. It's interesting because the Rosalie seance, he wrote that after having a firsthand experience, and he in the same day that he had the experience, he like went to a pub and wrote all this shit down. Like he couldn't not talk about it.
Right.
This sounds more like he's narrating something that happened before he got there. So it's more storytelling.
Historical telling.
Mm-hmm. So, but he also heard it directly. So it sounds really personal, but I don't think he was actually involved yet. I think he's just reporting what other people said. So when they took her to see Macaroni,
Yeah.
Harry Price's book says, soon after Eleonora had entered his room, an iron vessel suddenly burst into many pieces. This is a long quote, by the way. This is like a little paragraph. Immediately afterwards, a vessel which had been on the hearth also burst. The splinters were thrown into the court. Scarcely had the people recovered from the shock when both inner windows broke and one of the splinters fell into the room. The outside windows remained intact, and during the events, the old priest, his son, and a school teacher were all present.
Oh.
All startled, they ran out of the room, and the teacher, looking through the window alone, saw a big chest, like a
trunk.
A trunk. I was thinking
Like a barrel, a Dracu.
a big chest.
Oh, like a.
When I first read it, it was like 2 a.m. and I was like, a big chest? Why was he looking at that? Okay. Anyway.
Jeez, keep your eyes up here, my friend.
Said Father Macaroni. So, okay, yeah. So he saw a big chest, and it stood against the wall, but it started moving backwards and forwards by itself, as well as from side to side of its own volition. Only one young man had remained in the room, and when he saw the chest moving, a plank hidden in a corner sprang upon the young man and injured him.
Oh.
Then all again entered the room, and one of them proposed going on a pilgrimage to St. Johannes at the convent of Sukzava.
Sure.
So they're saying, like, let's go to a convent. Let's take her there. Like, we don't know what we're doing.
Just drop her off somewhere else.
Us 14 strangers in town don't know what we're doing.
We're getting smacked in the face with wooden planks, and there's like somebody's big chest is outside the window.
It's STD.
This is unholy.
It's Susan. So at the name, and this continuing, at the name of the saint being pronounced, because they said Saint Johannes.
Mm-hmm.
At the name of the saint being pronounced, a stone was thrown against a picture of him that hung on the wall.
Picture of Saint Johannes?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Destroyed the picture and remained lodged in the wall.
Oh no.
Only the teacher was sufficiently courageous to remain in the room after that.
Oh shit.
He sat opposite a bench, of which was a can of water. Suddenly, this can of water was levitated 18 inches and came down on the other end of the bench without spilling a single drop of water.
It's like, look what I can do.
Yeah.
I guess.
So basically, like, all of this is happening, and there's many witnesses coming to Harry Price later and being like, this happened, and we don't know what's going on.
That's frightening, especially when listen, being raised Catholic, they do instill quite some fear in you, especially when you're like, we said the name of a saint, and the devil threw a rock at his photo. Like, that is some creepy Catholic shit.
And Harry Price, he was one of those healthy skeptics. So I don't know if you remember from earlier episodes, but he was open-minded, but also like prepared to debunk whatever he could.
Right.
And so at this point, I'm pretty sure he was like, okay, well, this wasn't done in a lab. There weren't really any proper experiments or observations. So like, who knows? So going into it, which I'll mention later, going into this story, he did come with doubts because he heard stuff like that. And he was like, okay, well, like surely there were wires or something.
Yes, the water just like moving. It seems very like basic
like someone
stuff.
Must have, when you're looking over here, someone else threw the rock. And
Yeah.
So from here, they said like, oh, let's send her to a convent. So they took her to a convent where numerous exorcisms were performed on her, and things got worse. The exorcisms didn't work. She started snarling, growling. She herself started levitating.
Uh-oh.
And the exorcisms, because they weren't working, I guess the convent was like, it's not our fault. She's just insane.
So, that's nice.
Yep. And apparently, I wish I knew more about this, but I tried looking into it and I couldn't find anything. They said that at this convent, she was treated, quote, comparable to the witchcraft persecutions of the 17th century. Because like they didn't know what else to do. They were just like treating her like she was a
witch.
A witch, apparently.
They put her in the water and like if she floats,
they were ducking or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what was happening to her.
Yikes.
But there was no, you would think that sentence alone would lead to a really interesting paragraph of notes. Nope.
Figure it out yourself, I guess.
So the press starts covering her story, and it gets noticed by this psychic researcher named Fritz Grunwald.
Oh, man.
Who set off to meet Eleanora right away. And he interviewed her, he observed her, and he saw these forces for himself. He wanted to study her more. He moved her back to the convent, because at one point I think she had like a little hiatus in a mental hospital. He moved her back to the convent, and he witnessed, quote, moving or levitating objects, other objects that seem to materialize out of nowhere, mysterious knocks or bangs, matches that seem to light by themselves, and even physical attacks which seem to indicate unseen hands pushing or slapping her.
Oh my.
His goal was to keep researching her as long as he could and eventually write a whole book about this or do some research presentation about it. But 3 weeks into his investigation with her, he just drops dead of a heart attack.
Fritz did?
Yep.
Oh no. Oh no.
And her parents are like, well, we don't know what to do. And so they sent her back to the, quote, asylum.
Girl. She's like, I just wanted a Snickers bar, and now look what's happened.
This is what happens when you eat candy, kids.
When the devil buys you some devil's lettuce, some candy.
The devil's lettuce, that's weed.
Well, listen, just let me have this. I don't speak English. You know that.
I know that. So they sent her back to the asylum. So like her grandparents don't want her parents don't want her, the convent doesn't want her, priests don't want her.
This is very sad.
So she goes to this mental hospital where they're treating her like a witch.
Cool.
And so Grunwald, who like absolutely believed everything that was going on, drops dead.
Great.
one of his friends, who happened to be a very rich countess in Vienna, named Zoe Wasilko Sarecki.
Jesus.
We're going to call her Zoe. Big Z.
Big Mac and Big Z coming in hot for the screen adaptation of the story that I'm inventing in my head.
It's going to have something to do with, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. It's not you, it's not me, it's Houdini.
Yes.
I don't even remember.
It'll be a song in there somehow. It's
Zoe,
not you, it's not me,
Big
it's
Z.
Houdini. It's Big Z. So yes, she's a rich countess from Vienna, and she was one of Grunwald's friends. And apparently she was also really interested in this research. And so she reached out to Eleanor and said, I'll take you out of this mental institution if you let me continue Grunwald's work.
Oh.
And so
she's like, I'm just stuck in this awful place of like, I'm either here or I have to be like studied outside of here by a rich countess.
Then again, if a countess came to me and said like, I'll take care of everything.
That's true.
I'd be like, all right, let's go. So this is now almost a whole year later. This is 1926. So at this point now, Zoe paid Eleanor's parents so that she could have like, she could be like her guardian, took Eleanor to Vienna, and she stayed at the countess's place. Probably much nicer than a mental hospital. And Zoe, scientists and physicists from all over Austria were studying her and all witnessed the same phenomena that Grunwald did. Originally, the Countess had some doubts, but her original belief in taking Eleanor out of her home or out of where she had already been and taking her all the way to Vienna was that because she thought that to take a poltergeist or a demon or some sort of force that's manipulating you, to take them far away kind of detaches them proximity wise to where they feel comfortable, and therefore maybe they
lessens their power.
That was her thought.
Okay, that's interesting.
Nope.
Oh,
Apparently wrong.
Never mind.
Apparently not right. So the first big activity was that she had an ink pot that threw itself across the room and smeared ink everywhere.
A mess and a half.
What a mess.
What a mess.
She then locked all the ink away because remember she still had her doubts that maybe Eleanor was doing
She's like
this.
hurling this across the room.
Exactly. So she was like, I'm going to lock away all the ink so that can't happen again. And limited where Eleanor could go in the house. So it's like you're only limited to these spaces. The other places don't have ink on the fucking walls. So
yeah,
just stay here where you've already made a mess. So soon water mysteriously started filling in Eleanor's boots.
What?
I don't know if she was wearing them or not, but
good question.
They started like just having water fill up.
Standing water in them? That's gross and weird.
And I wonder how far up, like all the way to the top? Or
like were they sloshing?
Calf? Or yeah.
That sucks though. That's the worst feeling. Wet socks.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
If that ain't some devil's lettuce business, I don't know what is.
The theories you could come up while on the devil's lettuce would be interesting.
No comment.
So Zoe saw that this was happening. She also saw that most activity was happening near Eleanor. So she was like, okay, this is kind of confirming that like maybe this is bullshit. Like it's only happening when she's around and by herself. So like maybe she's setting something up.
Yeah.
So the Countess started limiting more and more rooms that Eleanor could actually go to, and she basically ended up only living in the hallway in the servants' quarters. So it wasn't like that great of a deal.
That sucks. The hallway.
The hallway.
Aww.
Eventually, Zoe actually began witnessing these things herself, though, and she started being more and more convinced that it wasn't Eleanor's fault. This was just like there really was some sort of demonic force following her, and she started logging all the activity that happened to Eleanor in the Countess's house. Okay. And the Countess / Zoe, I keep interchanging the names, but Zoe wrote 141 pages worth of activity and turned it into a book.
Whoa.
And while Eleanor was in Vienna, Zoe recorded over 1,000 events, and her record was 67 incidents in just one day.
Whoa.
So things were just going on left and right. And some of the things were objects materializing out of thin air and dropping from the ceiling. Things were disappearing and then showing up behind locked doors that Eleanor didn't have access to.
Creepy.
Furniture was moving. There were strange voices, and she heard knocking and banging all over the house. So Zoe also wrote this in the 1927 British Journal of Psychical Research, quote, once I entered my room and once as in like one time.
Yeah.
Once I entered my room, I'm saying it once. I entered my room and looked at the window. Eleonora was standing behind me. Suddenly I saw a shadow which glided down slowly in front of the window.
No, thank you.
Not straight, but in a zigzag line.
Oh, no.
Then I heard a sound of something falling. I looked and saw an iron box with dominoes. The box was closed with some of the dominoes now laid next to it on the floor.
Ooh.
As if they'd like climbed out of the box and something.
Ooh.
Eleonora also started going into trances and began automatic writing. And one of the messages, which she wrote apparently in perfect Romanian, was the location of a set of keys that Zoe had lost a long time ago. And later Zoe went to go check and the keys were there.
Just got chills.
Some sources also say it's extra creepy because they believe Eleanor was, quote, completely illiterate. Although other people, including Harry Price, say no, she could read and
Well,
write.
they called her a simple peasant girl, which it gives the impression that they really are not estimating her intelligence at a high level.
No, it
Not
doesn't
that
sound like
that's
they
necessarily
believe in
true.
her very
Right,
much.
exactly. Exactly. But it is more interesting to me when a child is automatic writing than when like a full-grown man like that last guy.
She's 11 or 12,
Dan or
so-
whatever the hell his name was. You
Right.
remember.
I remember.
You remember Dan.
But so a lot of people like to add to it saying that she couldn't read or write, but apparently she could.
Okay.
At least according to Harry Price. So this is also the next two things I have to say are long quotes from Harry Price's book. So basically, after all this is happening, she's still in the press. People are still trying to get updates about what's going on with like the ghost girl of Romania. And through the press, Grunwald, before he died, also had written a report about her
Okay.
for the press to be like, I'm the one on site. This is what's happening.
Right.
And Harry Price read that report. And that's how he found out about Ellen.
I see.
So he was kind of interested, but then his friend, who actually was a professor at Vienna University, said like, no, like she's over here now. And like, I'm hearing about stuff like you have to check out this girl.
Wow.
So Harry Price goes to Vienna. And this was what he wrote about their first meeting.
Okay.
The Countess and I seated ourselves on the couch and watched Eleonora playing with a toy that fascinated her. A spring gun that projected a ping pong ball, which was caught in a sort of conical wire basket attached to the gun.
Oh.
Suddenly, as we watched, the ball came into pieces, falling at our feet. The girl ran to the Countess and asked her to mend it. She jumped up, and so did I. As I watched my hostess examining the join, a steel stiletto with a handle used to open letters, about 10 inches long, shot across the room from behind me and fell against the closed door.
Oh my God.
So a letter opener is now, so a knife is flying.
Yeah, those are very sharp.
It's sharp enough that if it's flying at me, I'm scared.
Yeah, those, I mean, I say that as someone who like injures themselves on every item, but like a letter opener is not, is dangerous.
Definitely enough for us.
Yeah.
I instantly turned around and it revealed nothing and no one that could have possibly projected the stiletto, which was normally kept on the writing table behind us. Let me say at once that no one in that room, and certainly not Eleonora, could have thrown the paper knife. We were at least 10 feet from the table. I had both Eleonora and the Countess in full view. Eleonora had one half of the ball in her right hand and the gun in her left. The Countess had the other half of the ball in her hand, and I was actually watching both my hostess and the child. And the stiletto came from behind and to the right of us, and I was between the missile and the door. It was a brilliant introductory phenomenon.
Whoa.
And then he says this. I will not describe the many other manifestations I witnessed during the days I spent in Vienna, as they have been detailed elsewhere in this book. But the phenomenon included, he's like, I'm not going to talk about it. But,
He's like, find it yourself.
but the phenomenon included the precipitation of a small mirror, a large black cloth dog that I guess she used to cuddle with,
Yeah.
shot from the side of the room over the partition and fell onto the coal scuttle near the bed. No one was more near the dog than 10 feet, and Eleonora, at the moment of the flight, was pushing a table against a wall using both of her hands. Then I saw a cushion on one of the chairs begin to move, and as I watched, it slid slowly off the chair and fell to the floor. No one was near it. After each of these phenomena and many others, I examined the room, the furniture, etc., but everything was normal. I reiterate that there were no wires, threads, spring releases, rubber bands, or compressed air tubes.
You know he was looking. Like,
he was looking hard.
wasn't-
At this point, he's like been doing this for a while.
And he's like keeping an eye out for who could be doing this.
Yeah, and he had doubts. He was like, I want to debunk this.
What the hell?
So he basically, if you remember from my previous stories about him, he created the National Lab for Psychical Research,
Right,
the
I remember
NLPR,
that.
which I think is now NOMAS.
Oh.
I think
Womp
didn't
womp.
he? All of his stuff is now part of like the library there.
Yes, and I said that sounds like the coolest library ever.
Yeah, they have like it's called like basically like dark arts or some shit. Like it's like all of his personal books.
Chamber of Secrets.
So they brought her to that lab with the Countess. She came along and they observed her in his lab so that way they could do like real experiments and have it all, completely observed.
Right.
And the activity continued in the lab and there was nothing they could figure out. Objects would disappear and reappear in locked cabinets. He one time saw a coin that moved across the table and fall by itself, and everyone was at least like up to 13 feet away from the coin when that happened. So he said that event was, quote, the first telekinetic phenomenon of Eleonora's witnessed at the lab. She also kept getting injuries on her body. There's one article from the Sunday Mail that said, a party was taking place in the laboratory when Eleonora, in the act of raising her teacup to her lips, gave a cry of pain and rolled up her sleeve. On her forearm appeared what seemed to be the marks of teeth deeply indented into her flesh,
Ew.
as if she or someone else had bitten fiercely into her arm. The marks turned from red to white and finally took the form of white raised wheels.
What?
They gradually faded, but were still noticeable after an hour or so. And everyone's together. They would have seen someone bite her.
If she bit herself too, like that's not a subtle movement.
Especially when like your job is to observe her.
Especially under a sleeve.
Yeah. So
Ugh, God.
apparently, so Harry Price then said that Eleanor was experiencing, quote, telekinetic phenomena, which was confirmed by many, many witnesses in the lab. One of them was Captain Seton Carr, who said, I was present on October 5th when the so-called stigmatic markings appeared on her face, arms, and forehead.
Uh-oh, here we go. Catholic shit again.
Under conditions which absolutely precluded the possibility of Eleanor producing them by scratching or other normal means. The marks were photographed in my presence. So, like, other
Stigmata
people
freaks me out. Like, that whole thing freaks me out.
and everyone's saying, like, I mean, this is just one account, but so many people are like, I saw this shit and like nobody did it. There's no reason for this.
Poor child.
There were still skeptics. There was someone who led this big theory that Eleanor was scratching herself with like a bad setting on her ring. So they thought that, like when no one's looking, she could just be itching her arm, but she's like really scratching up her skin. But I forgot, I didn't get to add this in, but there was a documentary that was filmed about her, and original footage, if you look at it, she was never wearing jewelry.
Oh.
So that kind of debunks that argument.
Yeah, unless she's like using fingernails or something.
Right. So let's see. And apparently Harry Price, the National Lab for Psychical Research, and the Countess of Vienna were all like, no, that's not true. And they sued him for libel.
Oh, really? For the jewelry thing?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they said, this is a quote from them saying, Harry Price, I could fill my pages with accounts of the phenomena we witnessed under scientific conditions during Eleanor's stay in London. Her visit caused the greatest interest among scientists and others who attended the observational periods. And in 1926, there's one article called, there's this one site called Euro Paranormal, and they said that the bite marks that they looked like, they were wondering like, oh, could that have been Eleanor's teeth or someone else? And so they checked the teeth marks to make sure that it didn't match with anybody in the rooms anytime there were. And they'd never matched anybody, which was super gross and creepy.
It is creepy.
And apparently zoologists also tested the saliva. And apparently, quote, according to Euro Paranormal, the substance was found to be teeming with microorganisms different to those found in the mouth.
What?
Though there was some doubt as to whether it was spittle at all, because swarming in the white substance were bacteria for staph infection.
STD.
Oh my God.
Just kidding. Wow, that's horrific.
So they're like, we don't even know if it was spit. It was
somebody is foaming at the mouth with staph.
Yep. And it doesn't match
biting a
anyone's teeth
child.
marks, and it doesn't fit the chemistry of someone else, like a human mouth.
If she's like doing this with her fingers or whatever, like why would that produce any sort of liquid
or teeth mark looking things? Like doesn't even look like teeth marks.
Oh my God. Ew.
So basically Harry Price's final theory is kind of a common theory today, where Eleanora, he says, this is kind of, depending on who you are, you could see this as like a total bullshit theory, because basically it's an unsolved mystery. They never figured it out. They don't know to this day what happened. But the way psychologically that Harry Price explained it was that basically she was prepubescent and going into puberty, and that's usually the time when spirits are most drawn like to kids,
that, like,
because they're impressionable
energy.
and vulnerable and have a lot of anxiety
Hormones.
and stress and hormones. Their chemistry is already totally fully out of whack, that they're kind of just easy prey for dark spirits.
Right.
And so he believes, his like final theory on all of it was that because she was younger and she was prepubescent and she was going obviously through a lot of stress and anxiety,
and like it was being called a witch in a mental I mean, this is a lot.
But she was just easy prey. And he also said that she was probably producing subconscious telekinetic energy due to a troubled past. There's allegedly a storyline where Eleanor told Zoe, the Countess, that she had been assaulted as a child.
No.
We don't know if that was true or not, but that has led a lot of people to think that she became obsessed with the devil as a way of channeling her rage.
Right. Oh God.
So Harry Price calls this the Dracu complex.
Oh yeah.
So this is a quote. During her early childhood, when the phenomenon became first apparent, the people in town threatened her so often with Dracu for all the things she did, like taking candy and stuff.
I mean, really?
They threatened her with Dracu and what he would do to her, that she subconsciously became obsessed with the idea of what would happen to her.
Manifesting it.
Yeah.
Like grandma did.
Yeah. Basically, you tell her
Thanks a lot.
enough, she's going to start believing it. And
Yeah.
It's kind of a self-fulfilling
And that
prophecy.
she deserves whatever terrible demonic stuff is happening.
He basically said if you remove the Dracu complex, the girl would probably no longer be troubled. But then he did add, even if we discovered the cause of the stigmata and this, if that is really what it is, it's just her brain creating this, we still cannot claim to have unraveled the mystery of the telekinetic movements of the coins, etc. We have merely proved that they happen.
Yeah, that's true.
So he's like, we still can't explain a lot of the weird
those
shit.
wet rocks are coming from.
Right. He basically said that, like, I can give you a psychological reason for why things might be happening, but it doesn't explain physically what's going on.
Right.
And so it basically just supports the normal poltergeist theory. It's called RSPK, the recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis.
Whoa.
Which is basically it's just like when you're younger and you have all this energy, you're unaware of what you're able to manifest.
And it's like channeling
and it's coming out. And it's basically like you have subconscious telekinetic powers that you're able to use because you're still younger and impressionable and don't know what you're doing. So a lot of people that go through that, they don't realize that they are subconsciously powerful enough to actually manifest things in weird ways, and they're usually unaware that they're the cause of it.
Right.
And so they're afraid of something, they're afraid of what they're actually creating, and so they think this thing is going to attack me, and because they manifested it and control it actually does hurt them. So it becomes this cycle of, I'm scared of this thing I don't understand, it's going to hurt me, and then it does because it's all coming from the same person's
it's going to hurt me, right?
mind. Yes.
Oh my God.
So basically you're the target of your own energy, essentially.
Awful.
So the theory has been supported, especially because this is like where people really believe, like, okay, like that's a theory, but it turns out that it could be pretty valid, at least in this case, because in 1928, upon hitting puberty, Eleonora's activity completely stopped.
Aha.
So they think that a combination of her just kind of like having this like weird, mental power and on top of it being a prepubescent impressionable kid, once she hit adolescence, it was just like,
wow, it just stopped.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
So there's a research paper out there called Eleonora Zugun, the reevaluation of a historic RSPK case. And it was in the Journal of Parapsychology in 1999. And the case called this whole, the research paper called this whole case a unique experience in several aspects, but primarily in the sheer number of phenomena recorded, because there were over 3,000 incidences. There were 3,000 incidents.
Yeah.
Now I don't know. Over 3,000 events were recorded, and almost 900 of them were, according to scientific conditions, they were extremely well established. So
it wasn't just like hearsay. It was like we witness this.
Like almost a third of the events,
my God,
scientists just cannot figure out. And also, there's another quote from Euro Paranormal that Eleanor became the most closely observed, investigated, and tested poltergeist girl of the 20th century. She's the first poltergeist case in which Freudian psychoanalysis came to be applied, because they were thinking, because she's an adolescent and she's hormonal and she's not even thinking straight.
Well, there's also the stuff about like being abused as a child or whatever. That other theory.
I don't even know if that was Freud, but I'm sure.
Freud
had a field day with that.
Everything's from childhood, right?
Right. And then apparently this case was the first to link, like I said, adolescence and poltergeist activity, which is now a common theory.
Yeah.
That if you're an adolescent, you're more inclined to more susceptible. Exactly.
This was the first one. That's interesting.
So what ended up happening to her is she studied hairdressing, moved back to Romania, got married, and she died in 1998. And to this day, she's still one of the most mysterious poltergeist cases ever recorded, with no explanation from many scientists and witnesses.
She lived to be almost like 100, right? Because
she was 11 and 25, so she was born in 14. So yeah, 14 and 98. I don't want to do that. 80 something, but 90.
At least she lived a long, fruitful life after puberty.
Yeah,
without Dracu over her shoulder. That is horrifying.
Anyway.
And I'm glad I am no longer in that phase of my life, because I didn't need Dracu. I was my own Dracu in that phase of my life.
I believe
Just read my journal and my poetry.
I believe it. It's
really bad.
I'm Dracu, like, is it Dracu or are you just listening to a lot of Fall Out Boy?
It's like, it could be either. They're really similar.
I have a hunch you were just the American Eleonora.
Oh, no surprise there, I guess. Well, thank you, Em. That was scary. I have a case for you here. Now, this is very interesting because I started researching this and then I did that thing where I went, why is this so familiar? Crap, have I covered it?
Oh, I hate that feeling.
I know, it's awful.
Have you covered it before?
So then I went and I was like, I swear I've covered this. And I looked in like the list of our cases and I was like, I haven't done it before. And then I realized I had covered it in Milwaukee at our live show. But so then I was like, well, shit, I still want to cover it because I don't think we've ever
these are
released.
live show notes?
Yeah, they were. I redid them for like, You
enhanced them. You zhuzhed them up.
I zhuzhed them up.
Yep.
Because they were shorter when we did a live show. But so, and I like re-listened to a bunch of old podcasts and stuff that covered this.
What were we doing in Milwaukee?
Eating cheese curds. That was me. You're not a cheese person. But I was eating cheese and drinking beer.
Was that Wine and Crime? Did they come to that show?
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, right. I know it's an M.
Minnesota.
Sorry. I just wanted a chance to talk about the haunted bears again. That's all.
The haunted bears were that trip. This was right before the Webbies, yeah. So last May. And you know what? So one of the episodes I listened to was My Favorite Murder covered this live in Milwaukee also.
Oh, really?
And I remember when I did it. I don't know if they did it before or after me, probably right around the same time because it was near the end of their tour. So I feel bad for anyone who came to both shows, heard it twice, and now you're hearing it a third time. But I just love this case, and I don't think you're going to remember it because there was a lot that I didn't even remember.
Okay.
And had to re-research. So I'm excited to just tell you all over again.
I certainly don't remember a single thing.
We barely remember what happened yesterday, let alone what happened in Milwaukee.
Exactly. So I thought it was also Minneapolis. So.
Yeah. Milwaukee was great, and Madison. I loved Wisconsin. Anyway, okay. This is the story of Laurie Bembenek. Do you know it? Probably not. Okay, good. So
I just went, I remember it. Not at all.
yeah, you went. You did the very knowing nod.
I just wanted you to feel included or
Thanks.
heard. I wanted you to feel heard.
I do feel heard. So this took place May 28th, 1981. Sometime around 2 a.m., 11-year-old Sean Schultz, I know, and his 7-year-old brother, Shannon Schultz, wake up to the sound of an intruder in their house. Sean gets on the landline, calls a family friend, and says, someone hurt mommy.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. The boy's mother was named. Do you have a guess?
M. Schultz?
Christine Schultz.
Shut up.
I'm not making this up. And I know I told you this at some point on stage, but I don't remember.
I don't remember at
It
all.
must have been the exact same scenario playing out as right now, but
Probably. They're like the people who came to the show were like, we know what's happening.
yeah. We already saw Em react this way.
Christine Schultz.
Christine Schultz.
Well,
it is really unsettling to hear other people tell this story, and they're like, and then Christine Schultz, and I'm like, huh? It like throws me off every time.
it's like you're not supposed to know about our future yet, Christine.
I know.
When we get hitched, when we say Allison Blaze,
and hopefully I don't get murdered, because that seems to be the outcome.
maybe
for this
we're supposed
Christine
to know about
Schultz.
this so we change our own future.
That's right.
Let's just not get
This is
married.
the only reason we're not getting married, I guess.
That's it.
I guess.
The only one.
Because I don't feel like getting murdered.
Me either.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with it. It all sounds messy.
Really, I already bled all over the
The window
Windowsill.
unit was enough blood for the month. Yeah.
I think we're okay. So the boy's mother was named Christine Schultz. I know.
Is it Schultz without a T?
It is with a T.
Okay.
I know. So, oh well.
Makes it a little different.
She was a single mom who had recently been divorced from her husband, Fred Schultz. Alfred, but Fred Schultz. And he...
Allison?
Alfred.
Okay.
Listen. Nope. Alfred Schultz, a local cop who went by Fred. So, as fucked up luck would have it, the cop who happened to be on duty and is called first to the scene is none other than Fred himself. To the scene of his ex-wife's murder, and his children are there.
I always thought there was like a rule where maybe I'm thinking of hospitals where like you're not allowed to perform on your own family.
I think that's a hospital.
Okay. I don't know if that was a cop thing where like
I mean, I think
if it's your address, you don't get to go
I
or
think
something.
maybe if they had known, I don't know if it was intentional, but he just happened to be on duty. So I don't know. I mean, you're right. You'd think that wouldn't be necessarily protocol,
Right.
to invite.
But then again, if I were a cop and I heard my address, I'm not going to sit around and like
and
not
you know
go
your
find
sons are
out.
there, your kids
Yeah.
are there. Exactly. So he went to the scene. He arrives. He's attempting to comfort his distraught kids, and investigators are asking the boys what they witnessed. So Sean, who's the 11-year-old,
Yeah.
says he heard what sounded like a firecracker, but was soon identified as an execution-style bullet. So,
No.
yeah. So the boys had followed the noise, which is just like out of any horror movie. I mean, they followed the noise and had found their mom in bed. Her arms and legs were bound, and a bullet was through her back. She was like face down in the bed.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. He said he and his brother had tried to bandage their mother's wounds before calling for help. Yeah, it's really
That's really fucked up.
dark.
Okay.
Sean also described the man he had seen as being around 6 feet tall, wearing a green tracksuit with a red ponytail that looked sort of like a wig.
Oh, I remember the green tracksuit and ponytail.
Yeah, that one's very specific. That's kind of where I started to be like, I know this
And
story.
a wig. Okay. I feel like I remember the wig.
The wig comes into play.
Okay.
So
This was, by the way, I remember at the live show after you said like the children are bandaging their own mother up.
yeah,
That was when we said, I hope you enjoyed the funny part of the show because
Yeah.
it's over now.
yeah,
Yep.
yep. This is one of those that straddled the line of,
Yeah.
is this too much?
I gotta say, I've never met anyone more brave than you. And at least 50 different cities, you've gone on the stage and bummed everyone out.
Made everyone feel like shit.
And then you just went home afterwards.
And then I pulled out my old notes and did it again because I just can't stop myself. Yeah, exactly. So here we are. So of course, so he's wearing this. So they said he was wearing this green tracksuit and had a red ponytail that looked sort of like a wig.
Right.
So of course, one of the first people they look into is the husband, or the ex-husband in this case. They questioned Fred about his whereabouts. He said he and his partner had been on duty and called to a burglary. But Fred had lied because when they looked into his story, they realized he and his partner had not been called to a burglary. They were actually out drinking on
And
duty.
he just showed up at his house.
No, they were on duty, but they were like,
Oh.
we were at a burglary scene
I
when you
see.
called us in. No, they were at a bar.
I see.
So they had been out getting drunk,
Drinking on the job.
drinking on the job. But it was still an alibi because people at the bar were like, yes, Fred was at the bar with us drinking.
He was just hoping his own like boss probably didn't
He was
find
just
out.
like, that wasn't supposed to be part of the plan. Yeah.
It's like, okay, it really wasn't me, but like, also, please God, don't tell my boss.
Like, it really wasn't me. I only had one beer. Let's just leave it there. So next they examined both his service revolver and his off-duty gun, and they determined that his off-duty gun was the murder weapon. So strange.
Not a good look,
Not
buddy.
a good look. Fred swears up and down he had nothing to do with this. The gun was kept in a gym bag in his closet, and only one other person had access. His new bride, 22-year-old Laurie Bembenek.
Okay.
So he's like, I didn't do it. I was at the bar. And they're like, who else has access to your gun? And he's like, oh, nobody but my new wife. So they interview Laurie, and she said she was home that night, but that she doesn't have an alibi. Nobody had seen her or like could confirm this. She's really cool, calm, and collected, but she swears she did not kill her husband's ex. However, on June 24th, 1981, she's arrested for the first-degree murder of Christine Schultz, her husband's ex-wife.
Right.
So Laurie Bembenek was this young, beautiful woman. She's 22. She had no history of violence. On the surface, didn't seem to fit like the classic profile of a murderer. She actually was a former police officer, and actually, like the story about, she's a former police officer, but while training at the Milwaukee Police Academy, she had met and become friends with another trainee named Judy Zess. And at a concert, Judy Zess was arrested for smoking marijuana, and because Laurie was with her, she was also fired, even though she claimed she hadn't been smoking it. So she had been fired from the police force. Despite her history in law enforcement, what really caught the attention of the public were Laurie's brief stints modeling and working as a waitress at a local Playboy club on Lake Geneva. So she's this like young, gorgeous, blonde woman. She had been featured as Miss March in the Schlitz Beer Brewing Company calendar. Like she was then, so they harped on, even though she had been a police officer, they harped on this like Playboy aspect of her past, where she had briefly
framing her in the worst,
framing her as like this like beautiful young blonde who was now a murder suspect, like because it just was such a it became this media sensation because like it's just a wild story to see this like tiny blonde like kind of Playboy waitress character.
No, it's definitely more interesting.
Yes, it's definitely a story.
Unique.
Yeah. So newspapers started calling Laurie Bambi Bembenek because she had these like big eyes, doe eyes.
Kind of remember that.
Yeah,
okay.
So they called her Bambi, which a lot of people still call her, but it was not ever her name. Like that was just what the media called her. So so they started calling her Bambi. The prosecution portrayed Bambi as a loose woman addicted to expensive living who wanted Christine Schultz dead so that her new husband would no longer have to keep paying her alimony.
I see.
So they claim that Bembenek was the only person with the motive, means, and opportunity. Like she had access to the gun. She has no alibi. And she has a motive. So they're like, well, here you go.
Not a cute look.
Not a cute look. So they also had evidence. 2 human hairs were found at the crime scene, and they matched ones taken from Laurie's hairbrush.
Okay.
So her hair was found at the scene.
Okay.
Not a good look.
Still definitely not a good look.
No. So they're like nailing this shut, closed case. In addition to her access to the murder weapon, Laurie also had a key to Christine Schultz's home.
Wow.
Fred had
It's just stacking up.
It's not good. Yeah. It just keeps adding to it. Fred had secretly made a copy of his son Sean's key without telling his ex-wife that he was like making a copy from his own kid's key set. Not good. For what it's worth, Sean, the 11-year-old, said he did not believe his stepmom was the one that he had seen in the house. And he said that on the stand, but he's 11. So it's like,
right.
Is that enough to outweigh like, her hair was
like,
there?
You're potentially going to jail. Like,
yeah.
And you're like, it's only determined on an 11-year-old
stepson's
testimony.
Right. And he said like, oh, I don't think it was her. But also like, if she had been wearing a wig, they were like, well, we can't trust that you knew that. So it gets worse for Laurie's case. So witnesses testified that Laurie had often spoken of killing Christine Schultz at dinner parties.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. She just like casually told everyone she wanted her dead. So there we go. Ding, ding, ding.
Wow. Well, that's it.
Sorry, Bambi.
Yeah.
The prosecution produced a witness who said Laurie offered to pay him to carry out the murder. And according to multiple witnesses, Laurie owned a green jogging suit similar to the one described by Schultz's son, Sean.
Okay.
It gets worse. Like literally there's more.
So is it just her? Is that what happened?
There's more evidence.
It's like, How does it? I'm waiting for you to be like, but wait.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's another
But it
person.
just keeps going.
Okay, great.
So they found in the plumbing system of Laurie's apartment, they found a red wig
Bye. Okay.
in the pipes. Okay.
I feel like I've said bye a lot.
Bye.
I'm just writing off the whole point. I'm like, I'm over it.
Bye
I get
Bambi.
it.
We're done with this. Yeah. So they find a red wig in the plumbing system. It's like, okay, well, bye. On March 9th, 1982, Laurie Bambi Bembenek was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. So this seems like an open and shut case, as we just said, but there is a twist.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
I know, because it's too short.
I was like, there's no way. Are you just... This story could have been done in 5 minutes. What are you talking about?
No, it keeps going. So although Fred had initially stood by his wife's side, championing her as innocent, he later changed his mind and publicly stated, as soon as she was in jail, that he believed Laurie was, quote, guilty as sin.
Oh.
So he just turned on her.
What?
Uh-huh. And meanwhile, while she's in jail, Fred wrote Laurie a letter in prison saying he had moved to Florida and moved in with a 19-year-old
A spinster.
a spinster and was now ending their marriage.
Yikes.
And actually, according to my favorite murder episode, he wrote her a letter that said goodbye and good luck.
Oh, shit.
The first night she got to jail.
Also, I'd be scared, like, if I thought that my current girlfriend had killed my ex-wife.
Yeah.
And that I would not be so bold as to be like, also, I'm breaking up with you. Like, I'd be like, I'd let the situation
Also, like,
die down a little bit.
Right. I guess he waited till she was in jail to be
And
like,
he was in
"Fuck
a
you."
different state.
And he
was like-
moved to Florida, right?
Also, I wouldn't tell her. I would be like moving to like Kentucky and tell her I moved to Hawaii.
Yeah,
And, like,
exactly. That's a good point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. But he just felt really confident.
He was really bold.
He was very bold. And he basically wrote her a letter that said goodbye and good luck. And then moved to Florida with a 19-year-old and said, fuck you, basically.
Okay.
So after her imprisonment, so while she's in jail, she starts to kind of put the pieces together and realizes she thinks she's been framed by Fred for his ex-wife's murder.
Huh.
So she's starting to think, like, somebody framed me because I thought my husband this whole time was, like, championing for me, whatever. And then the second I'm in jail, he's like, nope, she's guilty, bye. And, like, pieces
Yeah,
out.
it seems like, he looked like he was on my side until all of a sudden he was in the clear.
He got what he wanted.
And now he,
He was in the clear, right, exactly. So she's like, something's off. Somebody is planting something. I got framed for this, is what she starts to believe. So she filed 3 unsuccessful appeals of her conviction, citing police errors and handling of key evidence, and the fact that one of the prosecution's witnesses, Judy Zess, the one who she had used to work with,
yeah.
had recanted her testimony, stating that she had made the testimony under duress. So she had made a testimony saying, oh, I heard her say she wanted Christine dead.
Okay.
And then after Laurie went to jail, she said, I'm recanting my testimony. I was pressured into saying that, and it wasn't true.
Oh, okay.
So now Laurie's writing these appeals and saying, like, listen, this one witness is literally recanting her testimony.
Yeah.
Like, we need to reassess this case. So Laurie and her supporters also allege that Milwaukee police may have singled her out because she was currently a key witness in a federal investigation into police corruption in Milwaukee.
Ooh.
So it turns out she was like a key player in this big police scandal.
Sure.
And she was sort of like a whistleblower. And
Aha.
so now she's saying, like, okay, clearly, like, this is just a big conspiracy against me. And that's what her supporters are saying. So there's a little background here. After she was fired for that marijuana charge, even though it was not proven that she was actually smoking marijuana, she had found all these like photos of these male cops, and they were like naked, and they were at this like picnic, and I think like drunk or on drugs. I don't know what they were doing, but it was like very incriminating photos of these officers. And so she sent them to the Milwaukee police, basically being like, you fired me for like saying I was at a concert smoking weed.
Right.
But like these people have these photos, evidence of them like behaving this way, and they're not getting
And
in
it
trouble.
kind of like, it can be corroborated too of like wasn't Fred like drinking on the job and stuff too? Like,
Yeah, that's true. He was also, exactly. So I don't know if he was fired for that.
but like it's like at least proven that like there's other signs that he was not entirely professional.
And she's the only one being fired, right? So she'd found these photos, sent them to the police and saying, like, you fired me, but not them. And then the federal government heard about this and opened an investigation into the Milwaukee Police Department based on her findings. And they believed, this is alleged, this is what the government believed. They believed that the department was getting money from the government to hire women and minorities and then finding reasons to fire them during the probationary period so that they would get the money for hiring minorities and women.
Oh, yuck.
And then fire them so that they could just get rid of them.
Uh-huh.
And so she's like, well, you fired me and Judy. while I was going through training
Right.
for like allegedly smoking pot.
Right.
And now there's all these male cops just running around being like crazy and they're not getting in trouble. So it's just not a good look, as we like to say. So
quickly it's turning into something we say often.
Devolving.
And by often, I mean always, sometimes.
Always. You know what I always sometimes say? Potatoes are the rocks of nature.
I frequently never do it. But, you know.
Yes. Thank you. I'm glad finally someone
get it,
understands
yeah.
me.
I often get it. Sometimes.
So Laurie is a key player in this like federal investigation. And while this is going on, like before this murder of Christine, suddenly her car is being keyed. She's finding rats on her windshield. Like people are harassing her. Her supporters are essentially now saying police set her up for this because they wanted her put away because she was drawing attention.
Right.
And opening this investigation.
Yeah.
So her supporters also suggested that Fred Schultz may have arranged to have someone else murder his ex-wife. And one possible candidate that they were eyeing was a guy named Frederick Horenberger. And he was a career criminal who briefly worked with Fred on a remodeling project and happened to be a former boyfriend of Judy Zess.
Aha.
So that's Laurie's friend who had testified against her and then recanted her testimony. Right. And her ex-boyfriend is this guy Frederick who also knew Fred.
They're all intermingling in some way.
A lot of Fred.
It's very Degrassi.
Very Degrassi. And so, Chris. Blah, 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 blah. I have one eye that I can see out of, and I keep forgetting which one it is.
It's your left one.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So it's getting fishy. It turns out Frederick Hornberger had actually robbed and beaten Judy Zess several weeks prior to Christine Schultz's murder. And what was he wearing during the attack on Judy? A green tracksuit and a red wig.
Bingo.
Pulled into a ponytail.
Bingo.
So he went to jail for that attack, and a number of witnesses say he boasted to other inmates that he had been the one to kill Christine. And like people have been known to like say things and brag about things that aren't true, but
it didn't help.
Didn't help. What's more, the evidence itself, which seemed so solid during the trial, started to raise some doubts as well. So remember how they found that hair at the scene that matched Laurie's?
Yes.
Well, a hair analyst from a crime lab in Madison named Diane Hansen refuted the claim, saying she had absolutely no idea who decided these were similar hairs because they were different colors.
Oh.
Blonde. The hairs found were brown and Laurie is blonde. And she's like, she said, I do not like to suggest that evidence was altered in any way, but I can find no logical explanation for what amounted to the appearance of blonde hair in an envelope that contained no such hair at the time it was sealed by me. So she was like, I don't know what happened. I'm not saying you screwed with evidence, but you screwed with the evidence. Uh-huh. And
I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying it sometimes. Yeah. Never, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I would never always say that.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Sometimes often say it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm glad you get it.
God, it's like not even funny anymore, but I can't stop doing it.
It's really like weirdly mind-bending. So remember the wig they found in Laurie's plumbing? That was also very damning evidence, right? So there was a wig in the plumbing. It turns out that the plumbing system in Laurie's apartment was shared by the neighboring apartment.
Okay.
And the woman who lived there said, it was the strangest thing. This woman had knocked on my door around the time of the murder and asked to use my bathroom. So I let her use the bathroom. And after she used it, the plumbing was like totally destroyed.
Ew.
And who was the stranger at the door? It was Judy Zess.
I see.
So essentially, Judy Zess had gone to Laurie's neighbor's house and flushed this wig down the toilet to get it in the plumbing, which is like very involved.
Yeah. A lot of thinking went into it.
A lot of planning.
That's not an accident.
Yeah. And the wig was found in Laurie's plumbing, just like they wanted, you know?
Wow.
And so Judy had basically been put up to this task of going to the neighbor saying, can I use your bathroom? And flushing a red wig down the toilet.
I didn't even know you could flush a wig down a toilet.
It seems like well, you can't, clearly.
I mean, proven.
Please don't, because it doesn't end well. So even more shocking was that a fresh look at the case revealed that 6 of the 8 swabs taken at the scene had semen on them, but that evidence had been completely suppressed during the original trial. And if that's not, so she is not producing the semen,
right?
Purportedly, you'd think so, at least,
right?
And so even though there was semen found at the scene, they just like shoved that under the rug and said, no, it was Laurie.
Okay.
Like discounting where the semen would have come from, right?
Sure.
So if that's not enough, a team of 4 experts compared the size and shape of the muzzle imprint to the alleged murder weapon, the one in the duffel bag, and they said it was irrefutably impossible for Fred's off-duty gun to have been the murder weapon.
Okay.
So this essentially dismantles the entire case.
Which is so weird because for a long time, everything was so stacked up against her, and now it's all...
Now none of it is true.
It really was a perfect plan.
They really had it.
Until someone
until Judy recanted and said, I take it back, and then all of a sudden it unraveled.
Right.
Especially if Judy says, I was the one who flushed it down the toilet.
Yeah.
It's next door,
Full-blown admitting
Whoops. So this is just all very crazy. So alas, she's appealing this case, saying clearly this is all not true. Her appeals were rejected over and over again. So even though she's appealing and saying, look at this, clearly this evidence was mishandled, her appeals are being rejected. But she did the best she could. She made the most of her time in prison. She earned a bachelor's degree in prison. She helped found the prisoner's newspaper. So she's living her life, even though she's clearly very frustrated she can't get out. She also had been framed, clearly. She also met and became engaged to her cellmate's brother, a factory worker named Dominic Giuliotto. Then on July 15th, 1990, the unthinkable happened.
What?
Laurie escaped from prison.
Oh.
She had climbed through a laundry room window and was picked up by Dominic, her fiance, from the outside. And they were spotted 2 days later in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, but she and Dominic fled to Thunder Bay, Ontario in a car that said just married, even though they weren't, but they were playing a ruse. Yeah, they drove into Canada being like, oh, we're newly married. We're just going on a honeymoon, whatever. And they got into Canada. And Laurie's escape reignited publicity surrounding this whole Bambi case. Bambi has escaped from jail. She became a folk hero because there was a song written about her. T-shirts were sold with the slogan "Run Bambi Run." There were bumper stickers that said "Run Bambi Run."
Why don't we have a shirt like that?
No, we should. So while on the run, Laurie used the name Jennifer Gazana and got a job working as a waitress and a fitness instructor. And then on October 17th, 1990, just over 3 months after her escape, Laurie and Dominic were arrested after a tourist noticed that her waitress looked a lot like the woman who was just featured on America's Most Wanted.
I see.
Yeah. So Dominic Giuliotto was deported to the States and sentenced to a year in prison for his role in her escape. But Laurie refused to go down easy. Her attorney advised her to seek refugee status in Canada. So she was like, I'm being persecuted by a conspiracy between the police department and the Wisconsin judicial system. So the Canadian government showed some sympathy for her. And before returning her, they did send her back to Wisconsin, but they made the state promise they'd conduct a judicial review of her case before just throwing her right back in jail.
God damn, I love that.
I know. So thank you, Canada. Though they didn't find evidence of crimes by the police, they did detail 7 major police blunders in Laurie's original trial, so she won the right to a new trial at this point.
Oh, nice.
But rather than risk a second conviction, which obviously she's like, I'm not doing this again, sure. She pleaded no contest to second-degree murder, and because she'd already served 10 years, she was released only 3 hours after the hearing. So she had already put in her 10 years of time,
right,
and was like, okay. So after her release, Laurie had, it actually ends pretty sadly because after her release, she had a lot of legal and health problems. She was diagnosed with hepatitis C, PTSD, alcoholism, and as a way to cope with her PTSD, Laurie started she revisited her childhood hobby, which was painting.
Okay.
So after several years, she had amassed about 30 paintings, and they were put on display at a local art gallery. This is so bad. I'm not laughing because it's funny, but it's just so awful. You can't make this shit up. Then the gallery immediately burned down and every single painting was destroyed.
What?
You just can't even make up all this shit that's happening to this poor woman. It's so sad.
Oh my God.
She spent years amassing these 30 paintings. She's coping with her PTSD.
They're probably her pride and joy, the only thing that's gotten her through.
Creation. And then she puts them up in an art gallery proudly and it just burns to the ground.
Yeah. Wow.
So just awful. She won the right to have murder scene evidence tested for her DNA because she was like, I need somebody to prove this was not me. Because she still had this terrible rap that she had done it and escaped from jail and somehow. But she's like, no, I want someone to test this DNA and prove it's not me. But even that took a weird twist. So I don't know if you remember this. This is one of the only things I remembered, actually. In 2002, guess who decided to agree to conduct and pay for this testing of the DNA evidence? Do you have a guess or do you want me to tell you? I don't want to pressure you.
Chris Hansen? Like
Dr. Phil.
oh,
You're not far off. Like
Okay.
TV
It
personality.
was either him or like I was gonna say like Mariska. Like
Yeah. Well, good point. Good guess. That would have been a good guess too. But Dr. Phil says, we agree to conduct the testing as long as we can reveal the results on air, which is like the most like
Okay.
Hollywood thing ever.
It's like that awkward thing where you need to accept the help, but you have to say thank you
Yes.
afterwards.
It's like that Viennese countess who was like, I'll house you, but I'm going to study you like an animal.
I guess like that's like not the way I wanted this to
It's
go.
the like less bad option, I guess. Yeah. So the show's producers, now this just gets sad again. The show's producers kept Laurie in an apartment with a bodyguard and videotaping, apparently, according to her attorney, to shield her from the media because she's still like this big media figure. And so they're trying to like shield her from that. But apparently she suffered a panic attack and flashback to prison confinement, tried to climb out of the window and injured her foot so badly it had to be amputated.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And then the Dr. Bill set burnt down.
And then Dr. Phil set everything
that's
on
so
fire.
sad.
Yeah. So, and despite all of this, her appeal efforts were still not successful and her name was not cleared. Like, they wouldn't take her
God.
name out of this situation. And, like, clearly her asshole Fred ex, who's now with like a teenager, had put her up to, or had like said all
I don't
this
blame
up.
her for not that I would anyway, but like all that trauma is like so wildly
I can't
valid.
imagine.
It's like,
and being in
Jesus.
jail for that long,
Wow.
whether you're guilty or not, but then like not even being guilty after all that.
Oh my gosh.
So on November 20th, 2010, Laurie died in a hospice facility in Portland from liver and kidney failure, and she was only 52 years old.
Oh no.
I know. There was, at the time of when I did the notes originally, there was like this really recent update, which was like last spring. Wisconsin's new governor, Governor said he will once again consider granting pardons because his predecessor hadn't issued a single pardon during his 8 years in office.
Ugh.
So the new governor, said he was considering granting pardons, and Laurie's attorney announced that she hoped the new governor would finally grant Laurie a posthumous pardon to clear her name even after death. And I did look into that. No update yet, so hasn't happened, but I guess there's been a lot of other things going on in the last year.
Sure.
So hopefully that still happens. Even though it's after death, I would like to think at least she maybe
In
would
the
be able to rest a
afterlife.
little easier knowing that her name was
Her
finally
ghost can be like
cleared.
fucking finally.
Jesus. So this is me saying, sorry, Bambi. You didn't deserve all that.
You do not. No.
Anyway, that's the story of Run, Bambi, Run.
Bambi's had enough.
Bambi's had enough. Leave her alone.
Wow.
So that's that.
I didn't remember that story at all.
Isn't that wild?
That's still bananas.
Yeah.
Wow. When you tell me in another year, I'll be just as shocked.
What if we just kept doing that? I mean, no.
We should have
All our
a
listeners are-
spin-off show where we just tell stories that we already have, but the other person has to fill in the blanks like Mad Libs.
Like where I said Dr. Phil.
And whoever's more right wins
Chris
the prize.
Hansen. We could like vote. Yeah. I actually kind of like that. We
That's a
do a
fun
Mad
idea.
Libs.
Yeah.
A Mad Libs.
Yeah.
We're going Mad Libs. Yeah.
But yeah.
Anyway, so that's that. Thank you for listening
Well,
to our podcast.
I'm ready for some cheesecake, Christine.
Me too. Let's go get some cheesecake.
All right. For those of you who would like more information about any of this,
Why?
You can go to that'swhywedrink.com. You can also follow us on our socials, ATWD Podcast.
Oh, sign up for our newsletter.
We've got a newsletter. You can submit your own personal listener stories to andthat'swhywedrink@gmail.com.
Right.
Or actually, you could do it at andthat'swhywedrink.com.
Oh, yeah,
There's
that's
a
probably
submission form
easier.
there. Probably easier. Everything's on the website.
Just find it on the internet, folks.
Yeah.
We put it there somewhere. It's a mess, but you can find it.
Always never.
Always never.
And
That's
why
we
drink.